Johnny Talk Sports, my Week 15 NFL predictions. Week 14, really ugly week, 7-9 overall. That kills the hot streak I had going. 38-8 the last 3 weeks coming into Week 14. But it's okay. Just like every single week that I've had a bad pick week this year, whether it's college picks or NFL picks, I'm going to respond this week, and this week should be no different. I plan on responding. The goal is to do better than last week, and I really think I'm going to do better. So let's start off with the Thursday night game between the Broncos and the Colts. Nice job, NFL. What a great Thursday night game. In fact, it's so pointless. I'm just gonna skip the Thursday night game this week. Let's just move on to actual games that are worth watching. Saturday night, the Bears and Lions. I'm taking the Lions to stay in the playoff race. Chargers and the Chiefs. Now, in my humble opinion, this is the game of the week this week. I think that both these teams know what's at stake. A spot for first place in the AFC West is on the line. I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one. I just think being back in Arrowhead, coming off a momentum-building victory against the Raiders last week, another divisional rival, I think that fuels the Chiefs. I'm going with Kansas City in this matchup. Dolphins versus the Bills. Both teams coming off big wins this weekend. The Bills coming off a big win against the Colts in overtime. And the Dolphins are coming off a huge upset victory over the Patriots on Monday Night Football. But I'm going with the Bills in this one. I feel like this is the game this week that can go in either direction. Is Miami going to have a repeat week on offense? Or is the Bills' defense going to show up? Because LaShawn McCoy dominated in the snow. And I am picking the Bills here. I just think that the Bills have more to play for right now than the Dolphins do. Because right now the Bills are hanging on to the 6th spot in the AFC playoff race. So I'm going with Buffalo. Ravens versus Browns. I was this close from picking the Browns after I saw Joe Flacco eat the W after the victory against the Lions. And I'm going to go with the Ravens here. I just feel like this could possibly be the Ravens' last win of the year, if that eat the W curse is actually true. Because ever since Jameis Winston ate the W, he has not won a game as a starting quarterback. So I'm going with the Ravens here, but if the Browns win this week, it's because Joe Flacco ate the W. Bengals versus the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings here. The Bengals just have too many injuries right now. I mean, Joe Mixon was out last week with a concussion. Bengals are just beat up right now after a blowout loss to the Bears this weekend. I'm going with the Vikings to recover. Jets and the Saints. I'm also going with the Saints to recover this week. Josh McCown is out for the year with a broken hand injury, and Bryce Petty is going to take over the rest of the season for the Jets. And I just can't see Bryce Petty winning this game. And plus, Alvin Kamara, is he going to be healthy? Because he had a concussion. He left the game early last week with a concussion injury. If he plays or not, whether he plays or not, I think the Saints are still going to win. Because I just think the Saints can carry off of Mark Ingram. Next, we have the Eagles and the Giants. And the Eagles have lost Carson Wentz for the season, who was arguably the leading contender in the MVP race. But I think they're going to get the win this week. Although Nick Foles did back up the Eagles a couple of years ago, and they made a run to the playoffs, but they ultimately lost to the wild card, to the Saints on wild card weekend. But Foles did really well in the absence of Sam Bradford. They did pretty well. And I think he's going to do pretty well here. I just think this is beneficiary to playing the 2-11 Giants. And I just think this is going to be... I think this should be an easy win for the Eagles, although it may not come as easy. But back when Vic Foles took over last for the Eagles, they have better wide receivers now than what they did back then. Because now they have Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith. Well, Alshon Jeffrey is let alone a better receiver. Zach Ertz, if he comes back to play this week, which I think he's going to. Foles has better weapons this year than what he did last time he was a backup for this Eagles team. So I'm taking Philly. Cardinals and the Redskins, I forgot to mark this down. I forgot to mark a winner for this one. But I am going with I'm going to take the Redskins here. Although this is probably one of those games that don't matter either. But I'll just pick somebody. I'll just take Washington. This is probably a 50-50 game anyways. Packers and the Panthers. Now, the Packers, it is reported that Aaron Rodgers might be cleared to play this week. He could make his return. But I just don't see Aaron Rodgers, that's not completely at 100%, being able to beat the Panthers. Because the Packers' defense is pretty weak. They had to come from behind against the Browns this past weekend. And I just think the Panthers are on a roll after that victory last week against the Vikings. So I'm taking Carolina. Houston and Jacksonville. I'm going with Jacksonville here. Because the Browns really want Jacksonville to win as well. Because the more Houston loses, the better that draft pick's going to be. Because remember, I'm probably going to say this several times during the offseason. Probably several times for the rest of the year. The Browns have the Texans' first-round pick this year. And if the season were to end right now, the Browns would have the first overall pick and the 5th overall pick. They'd have 2 top 5 picks for new GM John Dorsey. So, the Browns are going to want to root for Jacksonville in this one. Rams and Seahawks, this is another great game this week. But I'm going with Seattle, and here's why. I feel like Seattle is a better team at home than they are on the road. Because if you want to beat Seattle, you have to pretty much do it on your home turf. Because Seattle, I think, is really unbeatable in Seattle. The Redskins were able to beat Seattle once, but I think that was just a fluke because Seahawks dominated the game. The numbers show they dominated against Washington at home. I think the Seahawks get a win here. I think they recover after last week's loss to Jacksonville. Although there's going to be some controversy, though, because Michael Bennett, Quentin Jefferson both got ejected at the end of last week's game. So I'm taking Seattle. Even though those distractions could come into play here, I still think Seattle's going to win. Patriots and Steelers, another great game this week. We got quite a few good matchups this week, which I really like. But I'm going to take the Patriots here. I know that they probably played arguably their worst game of the season this week against the Dolphins. But the way I see it, the Steelers have come from behind in their last 2 games. And I think the Steelers they can't afford to play from behind against Tom Brady. Because if you give Tom Brady a lead, it's really hard to come back. So I'm taking New England here. I think they respond this week. Titans, 49ers. I'm going with the Titans here. Although the 49ers have had good success with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback. So maybe the 49ers might pull off an upset. It wouldn't surprise me if San Francisco won. Dallas and Oakland. Now this is a must-win for both teams because they both need to stay in the playoff hunt for their respective conferences. But I'm going with Dallas here. I just feel like both these secondaries are kind of pathetic, but I just think Dallas has really stepped up to the occasion these last 2 weeks. So I'm taking Dallas in this matchup. Although I see this being a high-scoring game, to tell you the truth, this is probably going to be the most unpopular opinion here. But whatever the over-under is, I would suggest taking the over in this one. Because I see both quarterbacks having a day with these prospective secondaries. But I just like what I've seen out of Dallas the last couple of weeks. So I'm taking the Cowboys. Finally, Monday night, Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. Atlanta's hanging on to that 6th spot in the NFC playoff race. And I'm going to take the Falcons here. Though these teams played each other a couple weeks ago, and the Falcons, they got out to a big lead early, but they kind of let Tampa Bay back in the game a little bit. The Falcons got to remember to play all 60 minutes, just like they have failed to do all throughout history of time. But I'm taking the Falcons here. And those are my picks this week. I know I didn't pick the Thursday night game because, let's just be real, both teams are really pathetic. This is just a primetime game with 2 teams that aren't even in playoff contention. So if you really want to pick out of me in that one, talk to me about it on like Wednesday or Thursday morning. Anyway, those are my picks. Like and subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends and family. I will see you next time. Have a great day, everyone.